Good evening, everyone. Sarah Smith here, Executive District Manager and Independent Consultant with Arbonne. And I'm here this evening to share with you about one-to-ones online and to do a little training. So first of all, one-to-ones online, this could be anything from a telephone call to a Zoom. And what I would say is my first thing is always be on time. So make sure that whatever time you've agreed with someone and you would have reconfirmed that with them, that you call them at that time. Or if it's on a video, I would always join a few minutes early. So if they arrive, then you're ready to go and ready for them. The second thing is to really raise your vibrations. So find what it is for you. It may be dancing around your kitchen just to get some energy, because energy really has a sound to it and you want people to hear how excited you are in your voice. So I would definitely say find what it is for you that raises your vibration and do that before your one-to-one. Then I would say to start off the one-to-one, I always ask people what is their schedule like, how much time do they have. Some people will have 15 minutes and some people may have an hour, but at least if you ask and you know what their schedule is, then you can work to that. Rather than if you don't ask and then they only have 15 minutes, you're not working to an hour, and then you might have someone say, look, I've got to go at the last minute, and it catches you off guard. So always ask, what's your schedule like, and then you can work to that. The next thing I would say is really lay out the plan. So what I would normally do on a one-to-one is just say to people, if it's okay with you, I will share a little bit about me and my background with you. Then if you could do the same and just tell me a bit about you and your background, that would be great. And then I'm going to go through the business opportunity with you. And then if you have any questions, we can answer them at the end. Is that okay with you? Always asking for permission, I find, is really good. People like not just for people to presume. And then if you ask them that, at least they know what the plan is for the call. Then I would say introduce yourself. So your 60-second story. So this is really showing people, okay, why are you doing Arbonne? What is it bringing for you? What's your background? How did you get introduced to Arbonne? And what is it going to bring for you? And I would say be really bold. Why are you doing Arbonne? If it is to leave your full-time job and to spend more time with your family, then tell them, this is my plan. This is when I'm going to be out of my job. This is the level that I want to get to. This is where I'm going to get to them. So they can see what your goals are and they can just be bold with it. They can see where you're going. People really follow people that know where they're going. So I would say be really, really bold. Then ask them to tell you a little bit about them. And what I would say with that is really, really listen and make notes. I always make notes when I see people, either face-to-face or online. So make notes and just listen to what they're going to say. So when people tell you about them, it may be about their family life, it may be about their work life, and you can always pull things out that people say. If someone says, I work in London, but I've got a really long commute. Okay, so that shows you that they've got a really long commute. They probably don't want that commute. But just making notes, don't presume anything, but just ask more questions. So I always listen and then ask. If someone said to me, I've got a really long commute, I would ask, well, how long is your commute? Did you mind that? Do you enjoy what you do? Asking questions really pulls out their why. And I think this is the most important part of any one-to-one, is asking questions and really listening to what they say, because this is where they're literally going to tell you their why for doing Arbonne. So this is just so important. And I would say make notes, like I say, listen, be relatable. So if they say something that is similar to you or even similar to someone you know, I've had people that say, something that may not be relatable to me, but I know from reading an eye on Arbonne or from listening to a training that there's someone similar to them doing the business. And you can always say that, oh, I know a lady who's a nurse, very similar to you actually, who does Arbonne, and she fits it around her life. So just making it relatable. But the key with this part in the presentation is to listen. Really know that you're listening to them and giving them the time to talk. Then it would be to go through the presentation. So this is the Discover Arbonne presentation, which all of you would have heard by now. And what I would say is when I first started Arbonne, I would use the longer presentation, and I really got to a point where I could learn that and knew that. Then I dropped down to the 2 pages, because the 2 pages is very concise and people can really see it laid out clearly. So Then you go into the presentation, obviously going through each step, talking about Arbonne, the heritage of Arbonne, then going on to the products and the benefits of the products and exactly why the products are so amazing. And then moving on to asking a question about, have you had a shower today? And I think that is really, really important in the presentation, because that part shows people, okay, I'm using products already on a daily basis, and about redirecting their spend from an expense to an income. So then obviously going through the different lines and the nutrition and the personal care and skincare and makeup, and showing how they can earn an income by redirecting their spend. Then moving on to the business side and obviously going through network marketing, how it works, how we cut out advertising. Obviously I'm doing this very, very quickly, but learning these slides is really important, which is you can do that with your sponsor, because you're going to watch them when you first get started and when you're launching. So following that with your sponsor, and then you can obviously learn that by doing so. Then obviously moving on, like I say, to the business side and why network marketing is just so amazing and cutting out all the middleman. Then about why Arbonne is so on trend, and why Arbonne, why now? Exactly about, I always talk about Brexit's coming, and there's so much change in the world at the moment, especially I know for me, people that I speak to that are being made redundant and things are changing. And health and wellness is absolutely booming. Everyone wants to look and feel good. So really, really going through that and explaining that to your prospect. I always stop while I go through the presentation, maybe twice, and just say, from anything I've gone through already, have you got any questions on anything I've already covered? Because I want to make sure that they may, and I always do make it clear that there is more to come, so I may answer some questions along the way. But this gives them a chance to stop and to ask anything that may have come up. I'm really conscious that this should always be a conversation. It shouldn't just be you just talking to someone and not having them talk at all. So having that open dialogue is really important. Then obviously going on to the commission plan and how Arbonne works, how you can earn an income, obviously about network marketing and how you build a network. And then finally going through how to get started. So whether it be as a consultant or as a client or preferred client, or whether it be to recommend people to speak to you. So once you've gone through the full presentation, obviously that was a very, very quick version. What I would say is I wrap it up, and before I finish speaking, I always say to people about a 5-year plan and thinking big and what Arbonne can bring for you. Really, really dream big. And if they've already told me that they do not have enough time, for instance, I really say, imagine what your life could be if you had more time to spend with your family and friends. If you could even drop to part-time and then fully self-employed, what could that mean for you? But just putting into their heads about dreaming big. And then I open it up for questions. So asking, have you got any questions? Is there anything that I could answer for you? What did you enjoy most about what I've just told you? And from that, people may or may not have questions, so you can obviously go through the questions with them. One thing I would say is if you're new and you don't know an answer to a question, that's absolutely fine. It's not about being perfect in this business. I actually think it's great when people can see that anyone can do this business. So if there's any questions that you're asked that you do not know the answer to, just say that to the person. Just say, I actually don't know the answer to that. Can I come back to you? I'll find out the answer and I'll come back to you. And that's what I would do. So ask questions, ask them what they have enjoyed most about what you've shared and how it could really change their life. What could Arbonne bring you? And asking them that question. I always ask people, first of all, if your main income stream was to dry up, what would be your plan B? And the second thing I always ask people is, if you think of your life today and you fast forwarded 5 years and nothing had changed, would you be happy? And I find those two questions really powerful, because most people want something to change. And then that's also bringing them back to their why at the end of the conversation, which is great. I then ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't want to speak to you again about Arbonne and I'm not interested, and 10 being, I would love to jump in right now on an initial reaction, where would you see yourself on that scale? This I find is really, really good because you can see where your prospect is at. If someone says to me they're a 2, then I know that they're obviously, things definitely can change, but they're very far down the scale. Whereas if someone says to me they're a 9 or a 10, I'm like, great, are you ready to get started? And I'm ready there and then to get them started. So that's great for you. And also then if they're not ready to get started there and then, it means for the follow-up, you know where they were, and you can then ask them the same question on the follow-up. So yeah, really about dreaming big. Be prepared for someone to say they want to get started there and then, because you can get them set up on the system, ready to go. I always, just wrapping up, I always book in the follow-up for 48 hours. So if someone isn't ready right there and then, book that follow-up in, have it in the diary, and confirm it for at least 48 hours from that time. You want to get that follow-up in as soon as possible. And then before you have the follow-up, obviously just text them or call them and make sure that's confirmed in the diary. And just to wrap up, I always say to people, dream big. And I reiterate back to them what they've told me that Arbonne can bring them. And the other thing I always mention at the end is about searching online, because we all know that people can go online and search and they will find whatever they want to find. So I always tell people there are good and bad reviews online, and you're going to find whatever you're going to look for. If you have any questions, come back to me. As an independent consultant doing Arbonne, I can answer any questions for you. And I find that every time I say that, it is great, because people completely understand. Whereas if you don't say it and they might stumble across something, they may wonder why you didn't mention it. So that is, for me, one-to-one online. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.